My life took a turning point when I discovered I was adopted, but my twin sister was not. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the floor as I sat on my bedroom floor, my heart racing in confusion. It was just an ordinary Thursday until my parents dropped the bomb. "You were adopted, sweetheart," my mom said, her eyes misty, voice trembling. My breath caught in my throat. Adopted? My mind spiraled. What did that even mean? The silence in the room grew thick, almost suffocating. I glanced at Sarah, my twin sister, sitting across from me with wide, disbelieving eyes. She looked so much like Messamy chestnut hair, same freckles splattered across our cheeks. But she was different, she was theirs. I was the outsider. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. Why was I given away? The walls of our home felt like they were closing in on me. I could still smell the fresh scent of vanilla my mom used when she baked. It always made me feel safe. Now, it felt like a trap. My parents were whispering, their voices melding into a low hum, but I couldn't focus. I felt heavy, like stones were tied to my limbs. I wanted to scream, to run, but I stayed rooted in place, staring blankly at the floorboards. Where did I come from? I finally managed, my voice small, fragile. My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Well, explain everything, honey." Everything? What could they possibly say that would make this any better? Why didn't you tell me before? I felt the heat of betrayal in my chest, burning hotter as the seconds dragged on. Sarah leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "Do you think they love you less?" The doubt in her voice sliced through me, sharp and sudden. I shook my head, but my heart trembled. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. My dad had dropped a mug. It shattered on the floor, the sound piercing through my chaos. I felt the trembling in my hands, like I was about to break apart. As I looked back at my sister, her confusion mirrored mine. How could we have shared a life, a bond so deep, and I didn't even know the truth about my own existence? The air felt thick with uncertainty. Each moment stretched out like an eternity. What did it mean to be a twin if one of us was chosen and the other wasn't? Tears pricked my eyes. Who am I? The question slipped out, raw and painful. And in that moment of silence, I realized the truth was more complicated than I could ever have imagined. Just then, my mom's phone buzzed on the table, its screen lighting up with an unknown caller. The urgency of the beeping made my heart race faster. I felt a creeping anxiety crawl up my spine. Who could it be? What if it was someone from my past? As my mom reached for the phone, I could hear my heart pounding in my ears. What if this call held the answers I needed, or worse, what if it turned out to be something I could never accept? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The sound of the vibrating phone broke through the fog, but all I could focus on was that one thought that pressed against my temples like an incessant drum. Who am I? My mother's hands trembled as she picked up the phone, her gaze still heavy with tears. I watched her every movement, searching her face for any flicker of something: hope, fear, regret. Whatever it was, it felt like it would shape my next breath. "Hello," she answered, her voice barely above a whisper. I leaned closer, bracing myself for the revelation that felt imminent. "Mom?" Sarah's voice trembled in my ears, pulling me momentarily from my fixation. Her eyes were wide, searching, as if trying to find similarities in us that could reaffirm our bond. I couldn't help but wonder if she, too, was caught in the overwhelming tide of uncertainty, wondering how it felt to be the chosen twin. What if they were right? She had asked before, and now that doubt echoed in my mind. "Who is it?" I almost shouted, driven by a desperate need for answers. I felt like a phantom haunting my own home, spectating a life that untethered me from my identity. Just Let me hear this, Mom replied, her tone shifting to someone who wasn't talking to her daughter, but to a stranger on the other end of the line. I watched her face contort, the crinkled corners of her brow furrowed deeper with every passing second. Something about the caller's voice snapped her composure even further. What do you mean? She gasped, blinking rapidly, the light in her eyes fading momentarily. I snatched the phone from her hand, seeking the connection I so desperately craved, but she held me back, her grip firm but trembling. Listen, sweetheart, she managed, her demeanor placating despite the storm brewing around us. I need to take this outside. I felt abandoned in those moments as she stepped out, leaving Sarah and me in a suffocating silence, punctuated only by the faint sounds of a world outside our door, a world that felt impossibly distant from my reality. Do you think she'll tell us the truth? Sarah finally whispered, uncertainty flooding her voice. I bit my lip, wrestling with my emotions. What if the truth is too much to bear? I remembered how her face had shone with trust and love in our childhood photos, reminders of the many moments we had shared, and now I felt as if that same history was slipping away like grains of sand. We sat together, our shoulders touching, each of us holding onto the other for balance, amid the chaos swirling inside of us. In that charged stillness, something flickered between USA tender memory, a shared smirk. Maybe that bond would always tether us, regardless of layers of hidden truths. Minutes passed like hours while I clutched my phone rigidly, my nails digging into the metal and spilling droplets of nervous sweat onto my palms. What if Mom didn't want to tell us what she learned? What if this was an ending instead of a beginning? The weight of those thoughts constricted in my chest, deepening the ache into something unbearable. Finally, my mother walked back inside, her expression muted, and all the warmth of the room evaporated. I barely got the chance to catch my breath before she spoke again. We need to talk, she said, her voice steady but the edge of her desperation faltering beneath the surface. About what? I croaked out, panic returning full force. About why you were adopted, she replied, the words heavy with consequence. I caught Sarah inching closer to me, our fingers intertwining, a silent pact that we would weather this storm together. Mom, just tell us. I pleaded. I didn't want to keep this from you, but she faltered, taking a moment to collect herself. The call was from someone who knows the details about your biological family. My heart stuttered, the ground beneath me shifting like tremors before an earthquake. What did they say? She hesitated, her eyes flitting to the window as if the answer lay hidden in the blur of the world outside. They said they want to meet you. In that moment, my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, each fragment laced with fear, curiosity, and a growing desperation to understand where I really belonged. As shadows danced on the walls, I squeezed Sarah's hand tightly, swallowing the lump in my throat as if it were a bitter pill. I was lost and scared, but there was a spark of hope igniting alongside the fear, a chance to understand who I was meant to be and who might have left me behind. But as I looked into my mother's eyes, filled with concern and regret, another realization seized terrifying weight, that maybe this meeting would unravel more than just my past. Maybe it would bring to light secrets that not only I had been kept from, but that my entire family had hidden beneath their loving facade. Mom? I whispered, my voice barely audible, but the question lingered unasked. What if this soul-searching journey revealed more than I could handle? Would I still be able to look at my twin sister and see not just my past, but my future? As the room fell silent again, I realized the shadows had grown longer. Just outside the door, my life awaited, ready to shift beneath my feet once more. The air felt electric, charged with a volley of emotions screaming through me like thunderclaps echoing in a storm. My breath quickened as the implications of Mom's words loomed larger, eclipsing any lingering sense of security I had held onto so tightly. I couldn't shake off the feeling that the ground beneath me was crumbling. Everything I believed about myself, everything I had known, was about to unravel. Mom, I started again, my heart racing, a thread of fear weaving through the fabric of my being. What if they're not who I want them to be? What if they left me for a reason? The vulnerability of the question, the rawness of longing felt palpable, and Sarah squeezed my hand tighter, a grounding force amid the chaos. My mother's eyes shimmered with tears, brimming with a sadness that seemed to transcend time itself. I don't know, sweetheart. But meeting them could help you understand. It could help all of us understand. Her voice was a mix of determination and fear, a delicate balancing act on the precipice of our fates. I don't want to have to understand, I shot back, my emotions dangerously close to spilling over. I just want to know why I don't fit. Why I don't belong. The words closed around my throat, choking me as they escaped, and uncertainty swallowed my meaning. In this shared moment of despair, I saw Sarah's face harden with resolve, mirroring my unkempt feelings, as if she could feel every unspoken word trembling between us. As the tension escalated, I felt an unexpected spark of warmth against my arm. It was Sarah, an anchor in this storm of fear, nudging me gently. You're not alone in this. I'm here, and we can face whatever comes next together. No matter what happens. Her voice was soft yet firm, a beacon of light in the dark expanse of what lay beyond that door, but my mind raced and my heart thumped erratically in my chest, drowning out her comforting words. What did it truly mean to face this together? Did the bond we shared, forged from years of laughter and secrets, have the power to withstand whatever truth awaited? I felt as though time had ground to a halt, as my hunger for answers warred with my dread of the unknown. I wish we could just. My voice trailed off, haunted by the darker specters of possibility. Traced back to my adolescence, memories of whispered words surfaced. You were chosen. You are special. What did it mean to be special? I wondered now, especially when it felt like someone was always hiding the most vulnerable parts of me under lock and key. But before I could spiral deeper into the abyss of thought, the sudden ring of the doorbell pierced through our haze of anxiety, drawing us back to reality. Mom's demeanor stiffened, the color draining from her face as if the ring itself was a silent herald of all the upheaval to come. Who is that? I asked sharply, my heart thundering anew as an instinctive dread filled the air. I don't know, she whispered, backing away, and I felt an icy chill seep through my veins. The door opened slowly, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows just outside. He was tall, his face obscured by a cap, but I could see the urgency etched in his posture. Is this the right address? He called, his voice steady yet gripping, carrying a weight that made me uneasy. I'm looking for Lila Walker. The name hung thickly in the air, like a ghost beckoning from the beyond. Lila. It was suddenly so surreal, transforming my family into a mirage dancing in the sun that I could never touch. Sarah's grip tightened even more, but this time, it felt more like a lifeline pulling me back from the precipice of a deep, dark chasm. Who are you? Mom demanded, her voice now laced with authority, though the tremors within betrayed her fragile state. He hesitated, glancing at something in his hand. Someone who knows about the circumstances surrounding Lilith's adoption. It's important that we speak. In that moment, my world clamored to a screeching halt, the tension writhing between us as doubts and fears morphed into something darker, more malign. The pieces of a puzzle I had yet to see lay scattered around me, and I felt dangerously small standing in their midst. Do you know who they are? I whispered, half to myself, half to the stranger who stood at our threshold, an emissary from a past I was only beginning to grasp. But as he met my gaze, a glimmer of recognition pulsed in his eyes, one that burrowed itself deep into my heart, igniting a new type of fear, the fear that answers might hurt far more than the questions ever could. Your family, it's complicated, he said, his tone laden with the weight of unspoken secrets, pushing us toward the unknown. This was a fork in the road of our lives, the swirling promise of revelations intermingled with ghosts of sorrow. I was acutely aware how thin the ice was beneath us, while echoes of what had once been danced dangerously close to the edges of the truth. Would I surface, or would I drown beneath the waves of revelations that awaited? With my heart racing and uncertainty swirling, I realized one immutable truth. The world I knew had shifted on its axis, and as curiosity gnawed at my insides, the only thing I was certain of was how terrifyingly uncharted the waters ahead had become. The moment hung thick in the air, the words "your family," it's complicated, echoing in my mind like a haunting refrain. I stood, paralyzed by the stranger's presence, caught between fear and the relentless desire for answers. The shadows of the past loomed over us, and I could feel their weight pressing down on my shoulders, constricting every breath and thought. "What do you mean, complicated?" Mom asked, her voice faltering slightly as she tried to reclaim her composure. The tension radiated from her in waves, and I felt a desperate need to reach out and comfort her, to tell her that everything would be okay. But deep down, I was swimming in a whirlpool of confusion. The man drew in a breath as if preparing himself for the unraveling that lay ahead. "It's about Lila and how she fits into your life. The adoption was only part of a larger story, one that involves connections far greater than you understand." His gaze swept over the three of us, lingering for a moment on Sarah, who stood beside me, rooted with eyes wide and glimmering with concern. I could feel her unyielding strength beside me, but it felt fragile now, like glass on the brink of shattering. "So who are you?" I pressed, the intensity of my voice surprising me. "What do you know? Why are you here?" "I'm a friend of your birth family," he explained, the sorrow in his voice palpable. "I've been looking for you for a long time, Lila. There are things you need to know. Things about your sister." The word sister echoed through me, sparking a torrent of questions that I felt burst forth in an unstoppable rush. "What do you mean, my sister?" "I don't have a sister." "Why would you think that?" Anguish spilled out alongside my words, tinged with a primal fear. The idea of a cis-era counterpart who might share my history yet stand apart, who had potentially been kept from sent shivers crawling up my spine. But instead of answering, he paused, his eyes tracing between Mom and me as if gauging how much we could handle. "It's true. You have a twin sister. You were separated at birth." The circumstances surrounding the adoption were mutual, but complex. "There's a lot of pain in the past, pain that has lingered for years." With every syllable, he twisted the knife of confusion deeper into my gut, revealing a reality I had never even deemed possible. "Twin sister?" My heart raced wildly, clamoring against my chest as tiny shards of hope glimmered through the veil of dread. Why would they separate us?" Mom stepped closer, her fragility collapsing into a familiar resolve, drawing strength from a well buried deep within her. "We need to know everything. This is about our family, and we deserve the truth. If Lila has a sister, she deserves to know. We all deserve to know. Your birth mother hoped to keep both of you together," he revealed, "but circumstances changed. Your father, he did not accept the situation. He forced the adoption in a way that left both of you vulnerable. I'm only here to make sure you know you're not alone and that your sister is out there, searching for you too." His words ignited something within me, a flicker of hope, but also a churning ache in my gut. What kind of life had she led? Would she have felt that void the way I did? So many questions floated to the surface, colliding with the confusion and aching void of yearning I had carried since childhood. "What's her name?" I managed to ask, my voice barely more than a whisper. A deep sadness crossed his features. "Her name is Isla. She has been looking for you for years, just as I have. If you're willing, I can help you find her." The finality of his offer washed over me, both electrifying and terrifying. All the unresolved emotions coiled tightly within me, threatening to unfurl into chaos. I had yearned for connection for so long. Could she truly be my other half? The thought was intoxicating, but I also felt the weight of the unknown loom larger. My heart raced faster now. "I need to think about this." "I know," Sarah interrupted, and I could feel her breath hitching as passion zealously filled her voice. "You don't just think about this, Lila. You deserve to know how this has shaped your life. We need to explore every option together." Her unwavering support bolstered me, lending me courage I hadn't expected to find. This was larger than just my need to know. Perhaps this witnessing, this journey, could weave my fractured sense of self back together again. But just as I was tiptoeing into the realm of hope, the man spoke again, his tone grave. "But I need you to understand, searching for Isla means confronting deep, painful truths. There's a risk in this journey, Lila, risk that may change everything you think you know about yourself." His warning hung heavy, the chill of trepidation snaking through me once more. Could I bear the weight of the past unraveling? Before I could voice my conflicting thoughts, a strange buzzing arose from the man's pocket. He glanced at his phone, his expression shifting, charged with urgency. "I need to take this," he said abruptly. "Stay here, talk with each other. I'll be back." As he stepped away, uncertainty loomed larger than ever. I could feel the gravity of everything, pulling at the edges of what I thought I understood. "Lila," Mom said softly, her voice trembling. "No matter what, I'm here for you. We'll navigate this together." And as I looked at Sarah, gauging her unwavering resolve alongside my mom's fierce love, I felt the battle waging within me pulse harder than ever. Could I really dive into this abyss? Was I ready to face the truths that waited just beyond the horizon? And just like that, the door swung open again, this time revealing a young woman standing there, her face shadowed, but strikingly familiar. "Is this the Walker residence?" she asked, eyes golden and bright, a spark of recognition igniting within me. The world around me receded to silence as she smiled a smile that spoke of longing and kinship. It felt as if the ground beneath shifted once more. The answers I'd sought were standing right before me. Yet, they heralded a new depth of uncertainty and heartache that was about to explode. The last vestiges of control slipped through my fingers like grains of sand. The reality of its impact hit like a freight train, and before I could brace myself for the emotional tide, I was already standing at the threshold of an impossible choice. What lay in store for all of us was a mystery, but one thing was clear. The storm was brewing, and I was in its eye. The girl's presence electrified the air, and in that instant, the world narrowed to just her and me. "My name is Isla," she said, her voice a melody of surprise and warmth. "I've been looking for you." I stood frozen, a sudden flood of memories rushing to fill the new space between USA connection laced with longing that I had never known existed. My heart drummed against my ribs, the frantic rhythm matching the confusion swirling in my mind. Isla. My twin sister. The other half of me I never knew I had. Mom stepped forward, her expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. "What do you mean, looking for her? How did you find us?" Isla's eyes flicked to Mom, and then back to me, a depth of emotion woven into her gaze. "I've pieced together bits of my past over the years. I grew up knowing something was missing, that I had a sister out there. I didn't know who or where she was, just that I needed to find her. And then sometimes I dream about her. About you." A wave of vulnerability washed over me. Dreams? Could our minds have intertwined across the miles and years, sharing fragments of our lives? I shook my head, struggling to process the enormity of it all. "Isla," I whispered, lifting my gaze to meet hers. Beneath the uncertainty, I could feel the gravity of an invisible bond pulling us together, wrapping around us like a comforting cloak. "What's it been like?" Growing up without knowing, her lips trembled slightly as she considered the question, as if the answer were both a balm and a burden. I felt incomplete. Like I lost something crucial. Every family event, every birthday, I would think about you. There was always a part of me that wished you were there, beside me. I've searched everywhere. I thought it was never going to happen. My heart shattered and healed at once as I identified with her words. I, too, had navigated life with an emptiness lodged deep within me, a longing for connection that made me feel like I was drifting in a vast sea, always searching for land. Mom stepped beside me, her presence grounding yet supportive, as Isla continued. "I never knew how to find you. But then, I received a message." Her voice faltered, and she took a shaky breath. "A few weeks ago, someone reached out to tell me about a girl named Lila Walker. They said you needed answers." The reverberation of those words struck me harder than any blow. Someone had sought her out, just as this man had found me. It felt like the universe was weaving our stories together, yet the sinister threads of our history tugged at the edges with an unsettling reminder of our shared past intertwined with loss and hidden truths. "Why now?" I asked softly, desperate for clarity in this whirlwind of emotions. "Why are you here now?" "What changed?" Isla's brow furrowed, her golden eyes glistening like a beacon of shared pain. "I think it's all connected to our birth father. He's been looking too, but I don't think for the right reasons. He believes our existence threatens something important to him." A shivered breath escaped me. The collective weight of our hidden past crashed down like waves against an unyielding shore. "What do you mean?" A threatening echo sliced through my hopeful heart. the notion that our lives were not just marked by searching, but also by danger. "Keep your guard up," Isla urged, her voice low and urgent. "If he finds out I'm here, he could try to." Just then, the stranger, a figure who had entered our lives only moments before, turned through the door with a troubled expression. His eyes darted between us, laden with awareness that something pivotal had just shifted within the room. "We have to leave now," he said, his brow furrowed with concern. "I just received a tip that he's gotten wind of the search. You're in danger, Lila. And Isla, if he knows you're looking for her, both of you could be at risk." Panic clawed at my throat. "He can't hurt us. I won't let him," I exclaimed, the fractures of fear building inside me, threatening to shatter my composure. "Just listen," he insisted, stepping further into the room. "We don't have time to argue. We need to protect both of you. We'll come up with a plan, but you can't stay here. Trust me." Isla's hands found mine, a solid connection anchoring us. "Lila, I don't want to run. I want to face this together. I've waited too long to find you. Please, let's not run away from the truth." The room swayed like a fragile ship under mounting waves, as emotions collided: fear, hope, and an urge to uncover everything that lay hidden beneath the surface. I could feel Isla's pulse in my fingertips. It thrummed with a fierce determination that mirrored my own terror and resolve. "Let's get out," I whispered, my breath a soft yet potent promise. "Together." As the stranger quickly ushered us out the door, the world outside was painted in the starkness of impending storm clouds, heavy with threat. Just when I thought I had stepped into the light of understanding, the darkness loomed larger than I could have ever anticipated. Behind me, the door creaked ominously shut, and I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that as one mystery began to unravel, another, much darker one, was tightening its grip around us. Whatever awaited us would require more than bravery. It would demand solidarity, trust, and a revelation that could define every choice we would make from here on. Just as much as we sought to find each other, we would have to stand firm against whatever was lurking on the edge of our past. The storm was indeed here, and it promised to change everything. The rain began to pour just as we stepped outside, cold droplets cascading from the heavens, hitting the pavement like tiny fists. Each step felt heavy, burdened by the weight of all that had been said: the secrets, the danger, and the longing. The stranger, whose name I still didn't know, led us down the narrow alley, far from the prying eyes and ears of those who might mean us harm. "We need to get to a safe house," he urged, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling around us. I felt Isla's grip tighten on my hand, and I offered her a reassuring squeeze. However, the truth was, I was terrified. The idea that our lives might be in danger because of some shadowy figure in our past was an unsettling thought. Hadn't we both already lost enough? We rounded a corner, the world around us still cloaked in sheets of rain. I recalled the serenity of my life before Isla muted existence, tinted with shadows of confusion. Now, with her presence, everything felt sharper, vibrant, yet tumultuous. We stopped momentarily next to a cramped car, and in that moment of pause, a flicker of hope sparked within me. I turned to Isla, searching her golden eyes for an anchor in the storm. "Isla, do you think our birth father is looking for me too?" I asked, anxious dread coiling in my stomach. I had grown accustomed to the mystery of my parentage, but now, with every revelation, the desire to know, even if it meant uncovering painful truths, grew stronger. Her expression darkened, and she bit her lip as if weighing how much to reveal. "He is. He wants to control us, to exploit what we might offer him, or what he believes we could threaten. It's complicated." Our newfound connection was fraught with peril. I had never harbored a wish for a father, a man I had never met, but now I was tangled in the web of his intentions. The realization sent a chill through me. Who is this man? What kind of power did he possess? Then we must protect each other, right? I forced a smile, wanting to dispel the heavy pall that loomed between us. She nodded, but I could see the worry etched on her face. Just as a fleeting moment of camaraderie seemed to lighten the tense air, the stranger gestured for us to hurry. My heart raced as we slid into the back seat of the car. To my surprise, he slammed the door shut and turned around, locking eyes with us both. "Ladies, I need you to buckle up," he said, the gravity of his command punctuating the urgency that filled the air. This isn't just about your father. There are people who will do anything to keep you from discovering the truth. As he shifted into gear and the engine purred to life, I glanced back at the street we had just left, a profound sense of loss settling in my chest. I had only just begun to discover my sister, the possibility of a shared life, and now we were racing into the unknown. How did you know to find us? I finally asked the stranger, my curiosity piquing even as I clung tightly to Isla's hand. It's complicated, he echoed Isla's words from earlier, a hint of frustration flickering in his eyes. Your twin is a key in a dangerous game. I've been tracking your father for some time now, but the deeper I go, the more tangled things become. My heart sank. How can a family connection lead to danger? I murmured, slipping back to that feeling of drifting through life, desperate for answers yet terrified of what lay beneath the surface. Isla leaned into my shoulder, squeezing my hand again as if she were the anchor I had been seeking. We're bound by blood, Lila. Some bonds can bring strength, some, indeed, can also bring darkness. But I believe in the light we can create together. We fell silent, the whispers of our shared fears woven tightly within silences. The city raced past the window as we drove deeper into the night. The rhythmic patter of the rain lulled me into a contemplative haze, creating contours of my hopes and dreams, layered with echoes from a past I wished to reclaim. Just as I thought peace might settle over me, the stranger abruptly turned and said, "There's something else. Something I haven't told you yet that is critical to understand why your father is afraid." I held my breath, knowing from the tremor in his voice that whatever was coming would shatter what little calm I had begun to embrace. The legacy you both carry, it holds secrets far beyond your understanding. It's why he's been searching. And why you must be prepared for anything that comes next. Panic surged in my throat while Isla's grip on my hand tightened painfully. This had become more than just a search for answers. It had evolved into a question of survival, one that hinged upon revelations I could hardly fathom. As I searched Isla's face, my heart pounded mercilessly in my chest. Who had we become in the eyes of a man we had never known? And what dangers lurked on the horizon waiting to pounce? Just as the air thickened with anticipation, the car jolted to a stop. A loud bang echoed against the walls of my resolve, and I turned sharply to see a figure emerging from the shadows of the torrential rain. Not another chance meeting, but an undeniable threat. "Get out. Now!" the stranger shouted, his voice cutting through the tense air, snapping me back to reality. With the weight of every decision pending before us, I felt a shudder run through my core. We were no longer just twins separated by fate. We were threats, two halves of a whole that had suddenly become a target, and now we had to find our courage amidst chaos. "Go!" Isla yelled, and for a moment I was torn between running and facing the approaching storm, knowing more answers awaited in the tempest ahead than I dared to seek, answers that could unravel everything we had built thus far. But as I glanced at Isla, determination kindled in her gaze. I knew there was no turning back. No matter what lay in wait, we would face it together, ready or not. The figure stepped forward, a shadow twisting and contorting in the flickering, scarred light from the street lamp. My heart raced, pounding in my ears as dread gripped my throat. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice barely louder than a whisper carried away by the churning wind. Isla moved closer to me, her presence grounding me even as the stranger in the driver's seat, who had become an unlikely ally, shifted into defensive mode. "This is not the time for questions," he barked, unbuckling his own seatbelt with a swift, jerking motion. "You two need to get out of the car. Now!" Panic surged through me, threatening to drown out reason. I hesitated, torn between the instinct to flee and the desperate need to understand. Just as I opened my mouth to ask what we were running from, the stranger flung open his door and darted out, placing himself between us and the advancing figure. "Get behind me," he shouted, and everything inside me screamed in fear. He moved with an urgency I had not expected, his stance protective and defiant. I could see his muscles ripple beneath his shirt, but the resolve written across his face betrayed that he too was fighting his own demons. Isla managed to twist the door handle, throwing open her door with determination. "Lila," she called out, breaking through the fog of my thoughts. "We can't stay here." Her voice was a lifeline as I scrambled from the confines of the car, forcing my legs to obey despite the weight of fear anchoring my every motion. As we stepped out into the downpour, I could barely distinguish the figure before us, the rain blurred details, transforming the world into a chaotic whirl. But one thing was clear, danger loomed. The figure stopped a few paces from us, kicking up mud with each step, a slow grin spreading across their face, predatory and unsettling. "Isn't this cozy?" The figure called, their voice velvety yet sinister, slicing through the rain. The lost daughters, reunited at last. That voice sent shivers spiraling down my spine, resonating with a dark familiarity. I stole a glance at Isla, who had turned pale. Her expression mirrored my own confusion and fear. "Who are you?" I demanded, my courage just barely surfacing. The figure raised their arms, almost mockingly, as they stepped closer. "Your father knows everything about you, but there are things he hasn't shared with you. Things that would make you question the very blood that runs through your veins." I felt the ground shift beneath me as if the world itself was tilting precariously. "What do you mean?" I asked again, my voice trembling, unable to swallow the rising sense of dread. The stranger beside us was still, tense and ready, even as I felt on the brink of a cliff, staring into an abyss of revelations I couldn't yet process. "Your father put a price on your heads," the figure continued, the gleam of malice in their eyes glinting dangerously in the pale light. "And I'm here to collect. He wants you both with you alive. The power he seeks remains out of reach. With you gone, he can take what he desires. My employer won't stop until you pay the price." I felt the air grow thick around us, suffocating, yet Isla tightened her grip on my arm, weaving her strength into mine. "You're lying," she shouted defiantly, her voice strong even amidst the storm. "You can't take us from our lives. We won't let you." A moment of silence hung in the air, a fragile thread balanced between hope and despair. I glanced at our unexpected ally still poised to fight, but I couldn't ignore the truth weighing down my heart like an anchor. "Whatever he wants from us, we need to know," I whispered towards Isla, desperate to remain composed as realization crept into the folds of my mind. "If it's about our heritage, we can't run anymore. We have to confront this, even if it kills us?" Isla's question was raw, laden with fear, yet threaded with a resilience I admired. My heart soared at the thought of standing together against the tempest swirling around us, even if... I murmured, tilting my chin defiantly in the figure's direction, my heart racing with the knowledge that this choice would define what we became from here on out. The shadowy figure shifted, mouth curling into a sardonic smile, clearly enjoying the drama unfolding. But what do you truly understand about your heritage? This will go beyond the surface, my dear girls. Your blood connects you to something you can't even comprehend." Before I could respond, the stranger lunged forward, tackling the shadowy figure to the ground. In the frenzy, rain splashed wildly around them, creating a chaotic backdrop that echoed the turmoil inside me. "Go! Find shelter!" he screamed over the pounding chaos. "Lila, we have to run," Isla urged, pulling me away as I watched helplessly. I could feel the pull of fate as it yanked at my heartstrings. Just as we turned to flee, a chilling laugh echoed out, splintering our resolve. "You can't escape what you are," the figure called after us, their words like venom as the storm swallowed them whole. In that moment, as the torrent battered down against us, I turned toward Isla, a question bubbling to the surface of my consciousness. What if all of the danger, the family, what if it's somehow connected to the truth of our birth? What if we're the key? As her eyes widened, I was met with a hesitant glimmer of acknowledgement. "Then we must uncover that truth together," she replied fiercely, the weight of our shared purpose igniting something inside me, with every pounding heartbeat. As the echoes of that chilling declaration loomed in the distance, the shadows crept ever closer, leaving us no option but to plunge deeper into the storm of our lineage, a storm that now intertwined our fates in ways we might not be prepared for. And, as we vanished into the rain, the knowledge ran through me like wildfire. The answers we sought could just as easily lead us into darkness, or perhaps to an unforeseen light, a light that could illuminate the very legacy we were born into. But what we had to confront next remained an inescapable truth shadowed by terror. Just ahead, through the murky night, something loomed in the distance, an old building with familiar contours that set my heart racing. Could it be the very place where all this began? The rain fell harder as we raced through the night, the cold biting at our skin, but the heat of urgency burned in our chests. Isla and I exchanged frantic glances, both trying to form a plan that eluded us as instinct kicked in. The shadowy figure's ominous words echoed in my mind, a chilling reminder that our father had secrets that entwined us with danger and destiny. As we sprinted toward the familiar outline of the old building, an abandoned warehouse loomed ahead. Shrouded in darkness, but somehow imbued with the weight of memories I had tried to forget. I could barely breathe. The fear of being followed propelled us forward, while the uncertainty of what we would find within those walls filled me with dread. "This place, I remember it," I gasped, feeling a twinge of both nostalgia and anxiety. "One summer, I came here with caught adrift in the fog of my fragmented past." I struggled to pull coherent thoughts together. The echoes of laughter and warmth crisscrossed with dark shadows, a contrast steeped in a history I hadn't fully grasped. I didn't know why it felt so significant until now. "Keep moving, Lila. We can't stop," Isla urged, urgency matching the rapid beat of our hearts. With renewed determination, we approached the cracked door that stood slightly ajar, mirroring the fractures in my own understanding. The air smelled of dampness and decay, and I peered cautiously inside, memories swirling in a haze of confusion. "Do you think they're here?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the wind. Isla stepped in first, her defiance unwavering. "If they are, we'll handle this together. But I doubt we're the only ones drawn to this place." As we crossed the threshold into the dark, the forgotten walls whispered secrets, cloaked in shadows. A thin layer of dust coated everything, making the air feel ancient, yet strangely alive. In the dim light filtering through grimy windows, I could see broken crates scattered about, and old photographs hung askew on the walls, faded faces staring out lifelessly, connecting me to a world that had slipped just beyond my grasp. It wasn't long before we spotted a large room at the back, door cracked open as if inviting us in. Light flickered, the metallic tang of electricity beneath a layer of dust. I hesitated, the fight or flight instinct clashing within me. What if we found answers? What if we found more questions, Lila? Isla whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Are you ready?" The tension in her voice mirrored the fear coursing through me, but somehow, in the madness of everything, I found solace in her presence. "We have to," I replied, forcing my legs to take that first step toward understanding. As we entered the room, my throat constricted. A table lay at the center, cluttered with papers, maps, and a collection of photographs, pictures of us as children, playing in a garden I didn't recall, smiling faces of adults I couldn't place. My heart raced, pounding like a drum in my ears. This space felt like a mausoleum of unspoken truths. "What is this?" Isla stepped closer, picking up one of the photographs. I noted the way her fingers trembled, revealing the depth of the emotions swirling within her. "These look familiar, don't they?" "Lila, is that us?" I approached slowly, my heart sinking as I studied the image. Two little girls, gleeful in sundresses, stood before a woman who held them, an embrace heavy with love and warmth. The woman's face was obscured, but a sense of déjà vu washed over me, as if I had known her in another life. "With her it could be. It's like I've seen her before, Lila," Isla interrupted, her voice shaky. "Look at this." She revealed another photograph, a close-up of the same woman, but now standing with a man who looked alarmingly familiar. "Our father." No, I whispered, as the weight of the past slammed into me like the force of the storm outside. "It can't be. What are you saying?" Isla's gaze narrowed, panic rippling through our connection. He couldn't possibly," my voice faltered, the implications tearing through my mind. "What if he's not just our father? What if he's a part of something larger? Something darker?" Suddenly, a sound shattered the stillness behind us, a brisk shuffle, a presence drawing near. My heart stopped, eyes darting toward the door we had entered. "Isla, we're not alone," I shouted, adrenaline spiking. Before we could react, a figure dashed across the threshold, blocking our exit. It was the stranger, panting and wild-eyed, his clothes drenched but still possessing a fierce vitality. "You shouldn't have come here," he exclaimed, his voice urgent yet laced with fear. "What are you doing here?" I demanded, anger spilling out despite the fear in my chest. "We're already in enough danger, and now I rushed to warn you." "They're coming." The words tumbled out, panic straining his voice. "You need to leave this place now. Who's coming?" Isla scoffed, trying to regain control. "What do you know?" He hesitated, eyes darting to the papers behind us. "I know too much already," he whispered, his gaze sharp and haunted. "And they can't find you here, not when you're so close to the truth." The air thickened again as we glanced at each other, all thoughts of escape suddenly overshadowed by an overwhelming curiosity. What if we were truly on the verge of unlocking something monumental? What if fear was clouding our judgment? But just then, from outside, we heard voices shouting, familiar and echoing our worst fears. "I promised I'd protect you," the stranger implored. And here, caught in a web of past and present, of fear and courage, my heart raced as reality sped towards us like a freight train, barreling toward an uncertain collision. With an ounce of resolve that felt brittle yet vital, I clutched Isla's hand tightly. If there was a world we had to confront, it was all entangled with the fate of who we really were. But as the voices grew louder, I was faced with an undeniable realization. We had stepped onto a path that could shatter everything we thought we knew: our Father's approval, our lives, and the very essence of our identities. The heavy thud of footsteps approached. And in that moment, a new fear buried its teeth into my heart. What if this time there was no turning back? The air around us crackled with tension, a thick veil of dread hanging over the room as the stranger's frantic warnings reverberated against the walls. The dim light flickered, casting a spectral glow that made it seem as though the very shadows were conspiring against us, alive with secrets that were yet to be unveiled. I squeezed Isla's hand tighter, sensing her fear merging with my own. "What do we do?" I murmured, my voice trembling as I caught her wide eyes searching for answers I didn't have. Just moments ago, it felt like we were on the brink of discovery, but now, we found ourselves standing at the precipice of danger, teetering with uncertainty. "We need to get out," Isla stated, her voice gaining strength in the midst of chaos. The stranger nodded, glancing nervously at the door, then back at us, as if weighing the risk against the urgency of our situation. "Trust me," he said urgently, his voice soft yet firm. "If they get to you first, there will be no explanations. You won't even know why they want you." "Who are they?" I retorted, frustration bubbling within me. My heart raced with the conflicting emotions swirling in my chest, the urge to flee battling against an insatiable need for answers. The puzzle pieces scattered across the table felt tantalizingly close, yet cruelly out of reach. "The ones who've kept the truth hidden, watching you since the beginning. They fear the implications of your past, and they won't let you discover what is rightfully yours." His words hung heavy in the air, steeped in mystery, igniting the raw embers of curiosity that smoldered within me. Why would they care about us? Isla's brow furrowed, her instincts sharp and defiant. The stranger swallowed hard, his eyes searching for the right words, grappling with the weight of the truth. "Because you're not just ordinary. There's something in you, both of you, something connected to your father's past. They think if they can silence you, they'll be able to extinguish that spark." My heart pounded harder with each revelation, the implications cascading through me in overwhelming waves. I glanced at Isla, whose thoughts mirrored my own. This was more than just an unraveling of familial ties. This was a fight for our very identity. "There's a back exit," the stranger continued, urgency rippling through his words. "We can't stay here. Not with them getting closer." He pointed to a corner of the room, revealing a narrow doorway that was almost concealed by a tall pile of debris. I hesitated, torn between the safety of escape and the magnetic pull of the truths laid bare before us. The photographs clung to my mind like an unshakable burden, each image a whispered promise of answers I desperately craved. "Please, Lila, we have to go," Isla urged, her voice trembling with determination. The urgency drew me back, grounding me in the present where lives hung in the balance. With one last glance at the chaotic surge of paper, the key to the mystery that haunted USI turned to the stranger. "What's your name?" "Finn. I'll help you, but right now we need to move." He stepped aside, a fierce resolve igniting in his gaze, urging us toward the exit. Dragging my feet reluctantly, I clutched Isla's hand as we followed Finn to the threshold. The hurried sounds of footsteps outside grew louder, the urgency of our escape sharpened to a razor's edge. I could almost feel the pulse of danger thrumming in the atmosphere, a dark promise of confrontation. As we squeezed through the door, the damp air outside greeted us like a cold embrace, the rain still pouring down in torrents. "This way," Finn whispered urgently, leading us down a narrow alley, the world around us a chaotic symphony of anxiety. Moments later, we came to an abrupt halt behind a dumpster, Finn pressing a finger to his lips. The rain washed over us, muffling the sounds of frantic voices echoing along the street. I peered around cautiously, dread coiling in my stomach at the thought of being discovered. "Keep quiet," Finn murmured, and a wave of adrenaline surged through me as the figures appeared, shadowy silhouettes emerging amidst the sheets of rain. I recognized one of them in an instant, the unmistakable outline of our father, flanked by two burly men whose expressions were as dark as the stormy sky. "What are they doing here?" Isla whispered, her breath hitching with shock. "I don't know," I replied, my heart thrumming erratically. "But we have to get away before they see us." "Look," Finn gestured toward the edge of the alley, his voice urgent but steady. "There's a side street, we can make a break for it." With a final glance toward the figures under the near-opaque curtain of rain, I felt time slowing as fear gripped me tightly. As we edged away, a horrified realization struck me with staggering force. They weren't just searching for us, they were searching for something much more. And then, a sound shattered the tension, our father's voice calling my name, despair tinged with something deeper, darker. "Lila." The name felt like an anchor, tethering me to a past I had yet to fully understand, yearning to intertwine with the present. "Go, go," I urged, pushing Isla and Finn ahead of me, but as I moved, the collision of memory surged back, laughter, warmth, the elusive woman in the photographs. Was she connected? As we ran down the street, my heart pounding louder than the thunder, I clutched the weight of the truth hovering close to the surface. I had learned of secrets, shadows coursing through bloodlines, but what would I uncover if I delved deeper? The world around me became a blur of colors, gray from the storm, but beneath it, I could feel a pulled thread woven tightly through chaos, a truth begging to be revealed. In that moment, a chilling sensation gripped my chest, forcing the breath from my lungs. I may have been escaping one danger, but something much more insidious awaited me just beyond the reach of the storm's grasp. As we rounded a corner, Finn froze abruptly, eyes widening with alarm. "They're coming this way." Panic surged, and as my mind raced for a plan, the weight of our past clawed at me with renewed fervor. As I turned to face my sister, a shadow darted across my peripheral vision, a darkness that entered the alley like a phantom. I could feel the ground slipping beneath me, reality bracing for impact. I might have escaped the clutches of one danger, but it became strikingly clear. A far more profound truth awaited Yuson that could reshape not only who we had been but who we were yet to become. It settled in my heart with the weight of inevitability. Our lives were entwined with dangers far deeper than we could imagine. And the real fight was only just beginning. Standing at the precipice of uncertainty, drenched in rain and fear, I felt the world tilt on its axis, twisting our tightly coiled fates. Our father's voice echoed in my mind, a ghostly reminder of the shadowy figure I had yet to grasp fully. His frantic call seemed to blend with my racing heartbeat, the urge to flee, battling against the growing pull of uncharted truth. Finn, our unexpected ally, glanced back, urging us forward yet again, his eyes sharp with undeniable urgency. "This way. We can't stay too long in the open." It cut through the haze of my thoughts, shaking me free from the memories crowding around me like specters. I followed his lead, pulling Isla along, whose presence seemed to tether me to the ground as the world spun wildly with danger. As we navigated through a maze of alleyways, the rain fell like an unyielding curtain around us, masking our movements, but amplifying the dread that clung to our bones. With every step, confusion met conviction, and memories of love and loss battled alongside the reality of our father closing in behind us, his shadow looming larger than life. "He won't find us," Isla whispered, squeezing my hand tightly, her voice a beacon in the growing darkness. Yet, as the fear of our father's urgency seeped into the air, I felt an unsettling weight settle deep within, a reminder that there was no escaping the storm. Suddenly, as we glided around a corner, a thud resonated from behind us, and I turned just in time to catch a glimpse of our pursuers, two men, faces grim and determined, tracking us like wolves in the rain. Our breaths quickened with urgency as we ducked into a weathered doorway, the old wood creaking as we pressed inside. The moment we crossed the threshold, the room's dimly lit storage area felt heavy with the remnants of a forgotten past. "We need to find a way out," I breathed, trying to suppress the flutter of panic in my chest. It felt like I was caught in a whirlwind, spiraling towards a destiny I couldn't yet decipher. Isla's grip tightened, reassuring me as if to say, "We're in this together." Finn moved swiftly, scouring the space. "There's a back door here," he said, urgency threading through his voice. I felt a flicker of hope as he ushered us towards it. But as we stepped closer, the walls around me felt too thin, pulsating with the weight of secrets I had only begun to understand. What did our father truly want from us? Why had he hidden us away, shrouded in secrecy as if we were nothing but a threat? "Isla," I whispered, the fear twinging my voice, "what do you think is going on? What if he's not just our father? What if he's part of something darker, something we're meant to confront?" Her expression darkened, yet there was also fierce determination behind her eyes. "We can't let him control us. Whatever he's become, we need to face it. We deserve the truth." But before I could respond, I heard the muffled sounds of footsteps, drawing near. My heart lurched. Time slipped away like grains of sand, the weight of our shared history pressing against my chest like a vice. I could feel the walls closing in, a lifetime of choices crafted by shadows converging within this very moment. As Finn tugged the door open, I caught a glimpse of the rain-soaked world outside, a world that felt equal parts terrifying and hopeful. The echo of voices drew ever closer, pushing me to the brink. "If we confront him, Lila, what stories will surface?" Isla's voice was a tether, pulling me back from the edge of my spiraling fears. "We face it together," I said, the weight of my resolve combining with renewed clarity. No more running. Just as we stepped outside, the storm seemed to rage around us, a cacophony of raindrops bouncing off cobblestones, drowning out the chaos within. It felt surreal, the damp air both exhilarating and suffocating. In that charged moment, surrounded by the echoes of our past, I made a silent vow. Confronting our father meant embracing the true, the good, the bad, and everything in between. The moment we stepped into the open, an ominous shadow ushered toward us from behind, a familiar figure, framed by the darkened sky, anger and betrayal dancing in his eyes. "Lila." My father's voice cut through the rain, filled with anguish and a desperation that shook me to my core. With our hearts racing, we turned to face him, our bond solidified by an unyielding resolve. "You don't know what you're doing," he shouted, his frustration palpable as he advanced towards us. Fear trembled in my chest, but the determination that surged in its place was so fierce it set me aflame. I met his gaze head-on, no longer the frightened girl lost in the shadows. I was Lila, a sisterless sister. Our past was a tangle of secrets, but together we could face anything he had to throw at us. "Dad, we deserve to know the truth," I cried, voicing the wild thoughts swirling inside me. "We've spent our lives searching for answers, and we won't let fear dictate who we are." Our words hung heavy in the air, pregnant with unspoken weight. My father's face contorted between fury and something that resembled remorse, and for the first time, I thought I saw a flicker of regret. But there was no turning back. I was held captive by a deeper hunger for answers than fear itself could quell. "I never wanted this for you," he said, his voice breaking, the rain washing over him. "You weren't meant to be part of this." The shadows cast by our shared past were suffocating, but what lay beyond the darkness pulsed with the light of possibility. "And what do we look like to you?" Isla challenged, stepping forward alongside me. We're not pawns in your game. This is our life, our truth, and we'll face whatever it holds together. In those words, I could feel something shifting not just within myself, but in our father too. The turmoil clashed with unyielding resistance, and for the first time, I wondered if the burden he bore could be shared, if he could meet us in the storm of truths we had all created. Is it too late? I implored, the steady pounding of the rain drowning out everything else. Can we rewrite our story instead of letting it drown us? He straightened, the fight in his posture wavering. You have no idea what's at stake. We have everything at stake, Isla exclaimed, her voice empowered. If the truth is complicated, let us untie the knots together. The storm quieted just a bit as our gaze bore into our father's soul, the unrelenting rhythm of the rain falling like a heartbeat, a reminder of the purity within chaos. Our lives had become intertwined with shadows, but glimpses of light pierced through. In that moment of profound clarity, I remembered the woman from the photographs, the warmth and love radiating from those images, even as the bourbon clouds threatened to drag us into despair. Maybe, just maybe, our father hadn't abandoned us. Perhaps, beneath everything, he wanted to protect us from something far more dangerous. As the storm settled, I grasped Isla's hand firmly, uniting our strength, our resolve. This is our fate, and we'll not back down. We'll figure it out together. A lifetime of lost connections shifted in the air, charged with the possibility of love, revelation, and strength. Each breath felt more meaningful as we fully stood united in the rain, ready to carve a new path forward. In that moment of vulnerability, exposed to the tempest both inside and outside, you began to feel the truth unspooling, light saturating the darkness. The echoes of our past no longer felt like chains. They taunted us to chase the potential for connection, for understanding, and above all else acceptance. As my father stepped closer, uncertainty flickered across his face. And beneath the storm's intimate veil, I realized something profound. I was Lila. I was chosen by circumstance, but bound by something far more intricate. And as the breath of possibility encased my heart, I intuitively understood. No matter how treacherous the path may seem, we would navigate it together, transformed by the embrace of our truths. The revelations that would bind us as sisters in light and shared hope. And just as the rain washed away the remnants of fear, I knew the story of our past would lead us not just to a reckoning with our father, but towards the dawn of a new beginning from which we derived unyielding power. Never again would we allow darkness to dictate our truths. Instead, we would face whatever storms lay ahead, fiercely armed with the light of our connection, the unbreakable bond between sisters, intertwined by heart and spirit, a testament to the strength that lay within. And so, hand in hand, we braced ourselves against the incoming tide, ready to write the next chapter of our story, a story of courage, resilience, and love, forever echoing through the rain.